So, you've probably wondered what it really takes to build an AI that trades stocks, right? For decades, that world was totally locked down. You needed to be a giant hedge fund with supercomputers and whole teams of quants. Well, guess what? Not anymore. In this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain and give you the actual blueprint for building a sophisticated AI trading system right from scratch. No hedge fund required. All right, let's get into it. And to really get your head around just how much has changed, I mean, just look at this. The old world of trading, it was basically a fortress. You had to have expensive, secret data, servers that were literally right next to the stock exchange, and huge, massive teams. But today, that fortress has completely crumbled. We've got public data everywhere, cloud computing is dirt cheap, and the single most disruptive new player in the game, well, it's you. So that leads us right into our first big idea here. The real edge in trading has shifted. It's not with the big institutions anymore, it's with individual developers. But what does that actually look like? How does that work in the real world? Okay, first things first, let's be super clear on what we're actually talking about building. An AI stock trading bot, it's not just some simple if this, then that script. No way. It's a full-blown automated system. It pulls in data, uses machine learning to find hidden patterns, and then makes trading decisions all by itself. The key thing is that it's designed to learn and adapt, which is something a rigid, old-school program just can't do. And this is where it gets really cool. Your new edge, it doesn't come from having the fastest internet connection anymore. Forget that. It's all about how you creatively use all these amazing tools that are now at your fingertips. We're talking about free or super low-cost data from public APIs, incredibly powerful machine learning libraries that are totally open source, and cloud computing that's just cheap. Your real advantage is your creativity and how you stitch all these pieces together into one smart system. All right, so if you're going to build one of these, you've got to change your mindset. You're not just a coder anymore. You have to start thinking like a system architect. So let's break down the complete blueprint, the anatomy of your AI bot. Pretty much every solid trading bot you'll find is built on these 6 core layers. Think of it like a stack. At the bottom, you have the data layer. That's what pulls in all the information, prices, news, you name it. Then you've got the processing layer, which cleans all that messy data up. After that is the modeling layer. That's the brain, where your AI actually lives. Next, the strategy layer takes what the AI predicts and turns it into an actual plan. The execution layer, that's what connects to your broker and places the trades. And finally, and this one is so important, the monitoring layer, which keeps an eye on everything, tracking performance and managing risk. This right here, this is your roadmap for the entire project. Okay, so now that we've got that system architecture in our heads, let's get to the fun part, the build phase. This is where we take all that raw information and turn it into something real, an actual prediction we can act on. Look, your bot is only ever going to be as smart as the data you feed it. Garbage in, garbage out, right? And what's amazing now is the sheer variety of data you can get your hands on. You can pull standard market data from places like AlphaVantage, sure, but you can also get news sentiment from FinHub or even track big picture economic data like inflation from Fred. And here's the key takeaway. When you combine all these different sources, you're not just looking at a stock price anymore. You're building a much richer, much more complete picture of what's going on. And this right here is probably one of the most important points we're going to talk about. Seriously, having a ton of raw data is great, but it's not enough. The real magic, the secret sauce, is in feature engineering. That's the process of turning that raw data into smart, meaningful signals for your model. It's more of an art than a science, and it's honestly what separates a generic bot that goes nowhere from one that's actually profitable. So let's see how this works in practice. Yeah, you can start with the basics, right? Things like RSI, moving averages, and that's a perfectly fine place to start. But the real power comes when you start creating more advanced features. For example, instead of just price, you could calculate rolling volatility. Why? Because that tells you how risky the stock is at this very moment. Or you could measure momentum across different timeframes to figure out, hey, is this trend for real or is it just a blip? You could even check its correlation to the S&P 500 to see if it's just moving with the whole market. See? These kinds of engineered features give your AI the context it needs to make smart decisions. All right, so you've got your data, you've cooked up some brilliant features, now it's time to pick an AI model. And I'm going to give you the most important rule right now. Fight the urge to get fancy. Seriously, start simple. I'm telling you, a simple model that you've tuned well is going to beat a super complex one that you don't really understand almost every single time, especially when you're just starting out. Think of this as your model selection journey. If you're just starting, stick with the classics, things like logistic regression or random forest. And there's a huge reason for that. They're great for learning because they're interpretable. That just means you can actually peek under the hood and understand why it's making a certain decision. And trust me, that is absolutely priceless when you're trying to figure out what's going wrong. Once you get the hang of things, then you can level up to powerhouses like XGBeast. But all that complex deep learning stuff, save that for way down the road. Okay, building a model that feels like it can predict the future is, let's be honest, super exciting. But that's only half the battle. Now it's time for a little reality check. We need to talk about how to turn those predictions into an actual workable strategy. And maybe even more important, how to build the safety nets that are going to keep your bot from blowing up. I really want you to burn this next idea into your brain. You are optimizing for profit, not prediction accuracy. This is such a huge mental shift you have to make. I mean, think about it. A model that's 90% accurate at predicting the market sounds amazing, doesn't it? But what if its winning trades only make you a few cents, and its handful of losing trades are absolutely catastrophic? Well, then it's a terrible money-losing strategy. You're not trying to build something that wins a trivia contest. You're trying to build a system that makes money. So forget about obsessing over that raw accuracy number. Instead, you need to be looking at these metrics. These are the ones that actually matter. Things like your profit factor. How much money are you making for every dollar you risk? Or your Sharpe ratio. How good are your returns when you account for the risk you took? And this one's critical, your max drawdown. What's the absolute biggest hit your account has ever taken from its peak? These are the vital signs of a healthy and potentially profitable trading system. Okay, now for a serious warning. I have seen so many promising bots just completely fail because their creators fall into the exact same traps over and over again. Knowing what these bot killers are ahead of time is your single best defense. And here they are, the top 5 mistakes that will kill your trading bot. Number 1, overfitting. This is huge. It's when your model learns the past so perfectly that it's useless for the future. It's exactly like a student who just memorized the answers to last year's test. They haven't actually learned anything. Number 2, ignoring that markets change. A strategy that crushes it in a bull market can get absolutely obliterated when things turn sour. Number 3, trading way too often. Every single trade costs money, commissions, slippage, and those little costs add up and will eat your profits alive. Number 4, no strict risk controls. This is the big red game over button. One really bad day without a stop loss can wipe your entire account. And number 5, like we've said before, overcomplicating your models way too early. You gotta master walking before you try to build a rocket ship.
So if you only remember one single thing from all this, please let it be this. Remember those 6 layers in our system blueprint? Well, risk management is, without a single doubt, the most important one. It is not something you add on at the end. It is the foundation everything is built on. It's what makes sure your system even survives long enough to have a chance to be profitable. You know, they say a good offense wins games, but a good defense wins championships. That's your risk management.
Okay, you've built your model, you've designed a smart strategy, you've put ironclad safety nets in place. Now, it's time for the final frontier. Going live and actually scaling this thing up. And please, whatever you do, don't just flip a switch and hope for the best. That's a recipe for disaster. There's a clear, safe way to do this. Step 1, you backtest the heck out of your strategy on years and years of old data. Step 2, you move to paper trading, using a demo account to face the real live market, but with fake money. Step 3, only if it works there, you go live with a very small, controlled amount of real money. And finally, after all of that, you can consider letting it run on full automation. You gotta follow the steps. So, to wrap all this up, here's the main takeaway. The AI model itself, it's not the magic bullet. Your real long-term advantage comes from how well you integrate all the different pieces. A winning bot is a complete system where everything works together seamlessly. The data, the strategy, the execution, and especially that bulletproof risk management. That integration, that complete system, that is your edge. At the end of the day, the AI is just a really, really powerful tool. Think of it like a new kind of hammer. But the hammer doesn't build the house. The entire system you design around it, that's what builds the house. That system is your strategy. So the blueprint is in your hands now. The only question left is, what are you going to build?